start the topic by watching a video regarding cardinal rules of gun safety. Let's move on to the next topic, when to draw your gun.
When to draw your gun. Hard choices for armed security guards. It is never an easy choice to draw or use a deadly weapon. Law enforcement officials, security guards, and private civilians all wrestle equally with this issue, although the law outlines different guidelines for each. The law themselves can make it more difficult rather than less to know when it is appropriate or legal to draw a gun. And even when it is legal to draw a firearm, there may be still discomfort due to lack of training or experience.
Learn how to make tough decisions about whether to draw or use a firearm as a professional security guard. Let's proceed to the practices on how and when to draw a gun.
These best practices can shed light on how and when to draw a gun if the situation demands these actions. Firearms training should be specific to the firearms carried and include at least 80% hands-on weapon training with the firearms carried. Training should be updated and refreshed semi-annually. A permit for the firearms carried should be obtained and the armed security guard should be able to produce it upon request. The armed security guard should be well versed in and fully compliant with all federal, state, and local regulation regarding to the use and discharge of a firearm in the locality of duties. The armed security guard should routinely clean and inspect the firearms carried to ensure they are safe to operate and will perform as expected upon demand.
Now, let's discuss the guidance from the use of force continuum.
Guideline from the use of force continuum. The use of force continuum is a time-honored set of guidelines that are still taught in many law enforcement programs today. The Platinum outlines a 6-step process for choosing the right use of force from least to greatest. 1. Officer presence. 2. Verbal communication. 3. Control holds and restraints. 4. Chemical agents. 5. Temporary incapacitation. And 6. Deadly force. Here, the use of deadly force is clearly meant as a last resort step. If there is no other means to resolve or refuse a potentially deadly situation, deadly force may be instituted.
The next topic is all about use of deadly force. How can be justified?
The use of deadly force is also said to be justified in some potentially explosive situations and not others. Example includes
Let's proceed to our next topic by watching the video regarding training on how to draw a gun.
Hey guys, Ernest Langdon, Langdon Tactical. I'm here for the Beretta Win the Fight series. Today we're going to talk about proper grip starting in the holster. When you're drawing the gun, it's very important that you get a high, firm, master grip on the gun in the holster. We don't want to be adjusting the grip as we're presenting the gun to the target, so it's very important that that grip starts in the holster. A couple of tidbits that are going to help you do that correctly. To start with, when we come down on the gun, try to come slightly from the rear instead of straight down on the gun, and that's going to give you a more consistent grip here in the holster. When we're drawing from concealment, we want to ensure that we really drive that thumb in between the gun and the holster, especially with those inside the waistband holsters. So again, slightly from the rear, full high master grip on the gun before we start the draw stroke. So as we go for the gun and get that high grip from behind, we want to move our support hand at the same time. So both of your hands move together, and this hand needs to end up about where it's going to meet up with the gun going towards the target. So both hands move together to the center of your chest here, not in front of the muzzle, but right where it can pick the gun up moving forward. So once we have that high firm grip on the gun, when we draw the gun, it wants to come up and kind of rotate towards the direction of the target early. Couple of things. Always let the gun be higher than it was previously. Try not to dip it down as it goes towards the target. And the other thing is there's no reason to get the gun above the line of sight. So again, up and rotate so that we can start driving directly towards the target. Once the gun is rotated and we go to establish the grip with the left hand, highly recommend that you do not try to get the perfect grip all the way back here by your body. It's hard to get the correct rotation of your wrist on the gun when we do that. So develop a touch index point where your trigger finger contacts the trigger guard of the gun, and that is going to allow you to rotate that hand forward and establish that grip as we're driving it out towards the target. Once we start establishing that grip and driving that gun towards the target, I recommend that you have the front sight slightly above the rear sight. That's going to allow you to pick that up on the way to the target. That way it doesn't get obscured by your muzzle or the rear sight. So pick that front sight up high and drive it directly towards the target so that when you get to the end of the presentation, you got a nice clean sight picture. Okay guys, again, proper grip starts in the holster. Go out there, train hard, stay safe, win the fight, and we'll see you next time.
We go on to our last topic, Shooting inside the vehicle.
Hey, how you doing? Adam Pacha with the Sig Sauer Academy. In this vehicle today with my concealment hip holster on, what I want to talk to you about is drawing from a concealed carry holster inside a vehicle and maybe some other options for you. First off, concealment means concealments. A lot of states have concealed carry laws and you can get concealed carry permits. So we highly suggest when you're carrying concealed, make sure that that thing stays concealed. What I've got on is I've got a strong side hip holster with my Sig Sauer P224 9mm pistol in a hip. I've also got an ankle holster on, which I'm going to talk to you about as well from the vehicle. Now, what I have to think about from a vehicle position with my strong side hip holster on is that I'm probably going to be wearing a seatbelt because that's a safe thing to do and it's the law in most states. So with the seatbelt on, as I sit here in this vehicle and I've got my shirt over my gun, I've got some issues here. If I need to get my gun out quickly, the seatbelt may hinder me and it may not. It's also going to depend on what I need to do. Do I need to just get out of here, hit the gas pedal and fly out of here, or do I need to maybe bail out of the vehicle? If, for instance, I want to shoot through my windshield and deal with a threat literally in front of my vehicle in a very dangerous, violent situation like that, I'm probably just going to want to get my gun out of the holster pretty quickly and go to work if need be. So if that's the case, I'm going to have to fight this a little bit. All right, so what we suggest, as I'm sitting here in the vehicle, the butt of the gun, the back of my gun right now is buried in this bucket seat, so I can't easily access it. So what I'm going to have to do is lean forward and away from my gun. So the gun's right here, so I'm going to lean forward to my left. All I'm going to do is I'm going to use the steering wheel for a little bit of leverage. So as I lean forward and away from the gun, from this standpoint here, I can lift up the back of my shirt, get a grip on my pistol, and I can get my pistol out from here to deal with anything I need to deal with. Now you notice that the seatbelt really didn't hinder me at all. So I'll go ahead and try that again in slow motion so you can see what happens with the seatbelt. So as I lean forward, reach down, pull my shirt up over my pistol, got a grip on my pistol, you can see that from right here, the seatbelt really isn't affecting this maneuver at all. So really the only time the seatbelt's going to affect you from this type of position is if I want to get out of the vehicle. Because simply just doing this procedure, leaning forward and getting the gun out, I can do without even having to get the seatbelt off. Obviously, if the plan is to get out of the vehicle, I'm going to have to unbuckle that seatbelt eventually and bail out of the vehicle. But simply getting my gun out, pretty simple technique. Lean forward and away from your gun for a hip-mounted type of holster, and you'll find that that works pretty well. Now, another option for a vehicle, especially those of you who may be salesmen on the road or people spend a lot of time in a vehicle, another option would maybe be an ankle holster. I've got an ankle holster on right now. Ankle holsters are nice because my gun's right down there. It doesn't, I don't have to do anything crazy to get it out. I can simply bring my leg up and go ahead and access my ankle holster. So simply reach it out here and get it, and it's pretty easy access. So the ankle holster works pretty good from a vehicle situation as well because it's really easy to get to. Another alternative option would be a shoulder holster. So shoulder holster is a good option, or maybe even a cross draw holster. So you've got that. Now there's a lot of companies out there that are making holsters that will actually mount to your vehicle. So those are decent options as well. I could maybe have a holster mounted underneath the dash of my vehicle or the side. I've even seen them that attach up over your visor. So those are options as well. But if you're a defensive mindset person, you've got the proper credentials and permits, and concealed carry is what you want to do in and around your vehicle, you certainly got some options. Whatever you choose to do, you're going to have to devote some dry practice to it, meaning clear your gun out, unloaded ammo, go ahead, put your gun on in your carry gear, however you normally carry, whether that's a suit and tie or shorts and a t-shirt. Get in your vehicle, buckle up, and just work on making sure you get the gun out of the holster in a timely manner from however you carry it, because that's the important part. And
for a professional armed security guard, the decision to draw a gun is one of the toughest aspects of the job. If all other means to defuse a potentially deadly situation have been exhausted, however, drawing a gun may deliver life-saving results attainable in no other way.